How are you? You lost the pen.
I lost the pen. That's okay. That's the way life goes.
Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting, Monday, the 26th of June. We have a one agenda item meeting tonight, and that is the Board of Selectmen's goals for FY 2018. Before we get started, as we start every meeting, I'd like to, Mr. Clerk, you can lead us in the pledge. Please.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. All right, so, as I said, this is a single item agenda for this evening, and we've been talking about goals for a while, and we have a matrix that we're going to follow through on. Mr. Glavy had to step out for family matter briefly. He'll be back. We'll have some additional discussions. He and I actually did get together, and we had some conversations around assignments, what we found over the past couple of years as we've been in transition and kind of morphing this process and making improvements, continuous improvements on it, that when we make somebody a champion or accountable to a goal, it's far more likely to get done. So we're in that spirit. He and I got together and began the process of assigning particular goals to one or two members of the Board of Selectmen. It's kind of a tough process, so we'll use our suggestions, I guess, as a guide tonight. I'd like to try to keep this pretty open and conversational. And if you have a particular goal that you feel strongly that you want to be the champion of, please speak up and we can discuss it. All right, so no better place to start than number one, right? Master plan update, the implementation. That's our number one goal. So I think we all made some comments on this, particularly myself, Paul, and Joe put something down, some more specific notes. I think that Paul, having been part of the Master Plan Implementation Committee, is a logical choice for being one of two of us that would be involved with that implementation. If you folks think that he might need some backup on that, we can discuss that. But we kind of
Can we
agreed
talk
in the
for a
past.
second, just real quickly, about how you guys envision making these assignments? Obviously, we have the big overall header, but master plan update, housing, open space, green communities, there's a lot of moving pieces in there. I think when we laid out our potential 2018 goals, we sort of took smaller sections of those.
Yeah, so
Is that how you envision sort of laying out the responsibilities here? Broad headers, more specific things?
so going back to what.
How do we want to go after it?
Okay, so the conversations that Paul and I had, we were kind of, there was no hard and fast rule on that.
Sure.
There was some where there is an overarching theme, if you will.
Right.
Where the person or persons that were assigned would be assigned to that entire goal and each of the bullets beneath that goal. But there are there could be some arguments made, for instance, under master plan updates. You've got the implementation team, which I think Paul needs to be part of, and we've
Yeah,
discussed that
absolutely.
during the assignment of, when we did the assignment with the planning board. But then you have housing as a component underneath that, and then you have the open space component of that.
Right.
And so, under the housing component, Paul is still the representative of the implementation committee, in my
Okay.
opinion. But then, for housing, for instance, we thought that Cindy and Joe had made some notes relative to the goals. And with Joe's experience in the industry as well, thought that they expressed interest in it, so they should be the two that would be assigned that and the champions of that particular goal. The next one with open space accessibility, Chase, you had some thoughts and ideas on that, so we did put you in there. And we left the second person blank so that we could kind of have this just an open discussion to
Sure.
determine who would be someone else to work with you on that.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that example right there answers my question, just about the structure of
Okay.
how we were going to
Good.
make these assignments.
I will say that one of the things we did want to do is to make sure that we are so it's not, Chase, you and I aren't paired up, and we don't get to work with any of the other members of the board. So we want to try to spread each other out, and I think from a team-building standpoint, as well as from just getting different thoughts, thoughts and viewpoints and perspectives. I think it's important for us to cross-pollinate, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess everybody's kind of their heads are all nodding, everybody's heads are nodding as far as implementation. Paul's the guy.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Diane.
Cindy and Joe, everybody okay with Cindy and Joe being our champions for the housing implementation? Mm-hmm. Relative
think
to
that's
the
great.
master plan? Joe, you good with that?
That's fine.
And then for open space, so obviously I just thank you very much. You like this one better?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We should get a close-up of that.
I don't know if Chris can zoom in. Chris, I'll leave my, so folks, just so you know, the administration has gone through the process of creating IDs so that folks that are working at town hall, or if somebody from the town offices has to go visit a site, they've got an official badge. Well, Chris, he's got this one on there. This is the original. We were each asked to either submit a headshot or stop by and see Diane Curry to get a headshot. So there's my headshot on the screen there that I sent across. It's part of my signature at work. And our friends here in the town hall took it upon themselves to make that my official badge. I'll pay for that, just so it's no waste. That was a good one. But I think it's a real proactive approach, it's a great approach, and it lends some credibility to folks when they're going out and they're knocking on a door and asking somebody, can we see your property? If there's a zoning board of appeals member that's going to look at a site that's applying for a variance or something like that, there's not just some strangers wandering around on somebody's property. So I think it's a great approach, and I appreciate the administration doing that. So if you see people kind of passing things out, that's what we had.
Amazing, it does look just like.
This is all you need.
Mike, you can take my one with a smile on it, you have to grow a beard.
No, it's the beard. I draw a line.
All right, back to the matter at hand. So, everybody okay with Chase being kind of the lead on the open space priorities relative to the implementation
Fine with
plan?
me.
And does anybody have a burning desire to not work with Chase, but to be part of it?
No one has such a burning desire.
Not to the
Wait, wait.
exclusion.
I just know Paul, I'm surprised he didn't put his name down for that, because he's told me over and over again, since he was on the board a long time ago, he was about making that green belt from one part of town all the way to the other, and he always had a big interest in it.
He does have a big interest in it, but I think I put my name down on just about everything. Paul was more humble and reserved and didn't want to, I don't know. So,
Right.
is that,
Well, and there's nothing to say we can't, after we get done allocating everything, come back and drop them in. But
And along the line, you
certainly
might,
be
you might get
accessing
interested,
Paul's
that's
knowledge,
something,
yeah.
that we might even change roles.
and these are the champions for each of these goals. We're all going to be involved in it. There's going to be
Right.
conversations, so these are the folks. that are
Bringing
gonna be
matters back to the Board of Selectmen for updates and direction. you
Right.
know.
Decision-making.
Right.
Okay, so, I don't think we need that in the form of motion. I think Mr. Glavy just got assigned to the open space portion of the implementation. Well done, Mr. Knox.
So shall it be written, so it was written.
Thank you. All right,
We're
so,
live. Recreation trails.
all right, so we had Cindy and Chase had expressed some interest in recreation and trails under potential goals. I think they kind of tie together, Chase, to your point at the beginning of the meeting. Cindy, if you want to be on that, we can certainly parse them out and have you and Chase be responsible for the recreation and trails, but to some extent, I think there's some overlap
Kind of overlaps.
with the open space priorities.
Right,
And
right.
like you said, Chuck, with respect to champions, if there's Cindy and I had talked about a specific project, and
Right.
if you want to work together on that specific project, but otherwise not be responsible for the overarching goal,
Right.
that's
Right.
fine with me.
And that
but-
was my intent with that. That was envisioned for that, so.
Right, and we have,
Just,
obviously have that open communication amongst ourselves.
Sure.
To say,
Right.
hey, make sure you're mindful of this.
right.
That said, I would love that help in
Yeah.
championing the goal more broadly, if
Right.
that's your interest as well.
Yep.
Okay, so leave Paul under recreation
Leave
trails?
Paul,
With the understanding that you'll have some input with both of them.
yeah,
Good. All right, so. Green communities. Keith, you've kind of been the champion on this one. And I think you're the appropriate person to be
I think we
responsible
can
for this
con-
goal.
I think we can continue to do it, but I think that also that there are ideas that come forward from the Sustainability Committee which they've championed. It was their idea to go and apply for a municipal MVP, municipal vulnerabilities preparedness grant. But there are a number of things in the name of, energy efficiency or combating climate change that we don't, I'm happy to work on those, but but I'm also happy to have a champion from the board as well. Many of these things are on, I have to say, they're on automatic. Believe me, the next time, we're fixed right now on making sure that we spend our Green Communities grant this year to the full, so that we're able to apply for another one next year. And we've got our plan, we've got our 5-year plan that we'll follow along. So however the board would like to do that is fine.
I have expressed some interest in this, and I'd be happy to step up and work with Keith. I don't think that we need two of us responsible, with you being one of the champions. But if somebody else wants it, I can step back on that as well. Cindy, you have any thoughts or input?
no.
I think that's great, and I agree, probably one person running point
Okay.
on that will
So
be.
you and I have that one, Keith?
Sure, okay.
So, if you want to just put me down as, because these are the Board of Selectmen's goals,
Yep.
just put me down, but
Yep.
I expect you to do most of the lifting.
Understood. I have goals like that with Anthony.
Trickle down effect.
Hey, let's do that disabilities grant application, it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. It's due Friday, so. He knew it too when he suggested it. So, thank you, Anthony.
Mike, did you have any, we don't have, as a single item on the agenda, we don't have any public input, but you were leaning forward as if you were going to say something. Did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I'm trying to understand where you folks are coming from before we keep it
Okay,
as well.
so if you guys do have something to say, please, ever raise your hand, just obviously, but
Sure.
appreciate it.
It's so nice.
Nothing from you. Nah, you can say something if you want, Alex. All right, great. Economic development, this is a single goal that we have out here, but it's, I think it's pretty, can be pretty broad,
Extremely broad.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I think that we all, to some extent, not to some extent, I think we all felt some interest in this goal. Paul attends the Economic Development Committee meetings, so it might be similar to the Implementation Committee, where he
Right.
might be one of the candidates. Again, it is something that he's passionate about. He's brought it up relative to the website, Anthony. He was talking about the economic development is working on design and implementation.
Working on a couple of projects for that, yeah.
So, it's easy when he's not here to volunteer him for just about any committee. But, is there anybody that, this is one that we felt like there was a lot of interest.
Right.
So rather than one of us just kind of plucking it off, I thought we'd kind of have the conversation, and people want to kind of argue their point.
This one's almost an all-board one, because I think a lot of us look at this and can pluck off something on here that we're interested in. I don't know if you want to put them all down, but like, once again, I know Paul used to be in the committee at one time, I think, and now he goes to meetings. To have him not be a lead or at least one of the contributing members of the board isn't right, but of course, he's not here and I'm putting him on everything.
Would it make sense to consider breaking that up, because it's as broad as the first general goal, the master plan update,
Yep.
to consider maybe breaking that up into sub-goals, sub-objectives, and make assignments there, because my fear would be if we assign the whole board to run point on that, then it becomes sort of a tragedy of the commons thing, and no one actually advances it individually. But if we, Paul, your job is to interface with the Economic Development Commission. You know, Cindy, your job is run point on the website, then things become a little more discreet.
So we did nail down 2 specific goals within the broader spectrum for 2018.
Okay.
So let's be mindful of that as well. The first one being develop economic development strategic plan. So a lot of that's been done through the master plan steering committee. And then the next one is exactly what you said, the website, doing business in Littleton website,
Right.
which I assume is going to be dovetailed with the
Yeah,
the
the
town's new
Economic
website.
Development Committee is working on a website right now. They're meeting again this Wednesday night as a committee at 7 o'clock in room 307. Also, they're working with Kirby to do a video, an economic development video, as well as we're working on a couple of other ones for the website. So they've done a significant amount of work, their committee, so you just may want to consult with them.
Yeah, whoever's going to be the champion, I don't think, will, in fact, work closely with them. I think that's open for debate.
I think it would be helpful to get an update from them. I read their minutes, through their minutes, and it coincides, obviously with what Anthony just said, but I think it would be helpful to have a dialogue with them and get up to speed with them either. I know Paul is going to all the meetings, it seems, according to their minutes, but just to find out exactly where they're at currently and what their future goals are. I think that might help us
Okay.
determine how to proceed. Just a thought.
We have, in the past, we have had them come in and do a presentation. It was probably, that was my first year on the board, so it was a couple years ago.
Okay,
We could ask them to do that again.
Right.
I don't know if they have anything to update us on with Paul being the conduit. You can kind of bring stuff back as needed as well.
right. I guess that's the decision, to either bring them in or have Paul bring us up to speed.
And that could be part of, as, is each one of these goals, as each one of us takes ownership of these goals, that's kind of what we're tasked with doing, is
Right.
working with them and educating the rest of the board and trying to get stuff done.
Right.
Selectmen Lady may have some more information. I know they had real long discussions at their last meeting, so, and they had throw out some ideas, so if you want to table that, and maybe he may add something when he gets back.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. You guys okay with that? Just moving on from economic
The
development?
other thing to mention, while you've got folks from the master plan group here, is that there were a lot of recommendations regarding economic development that were contained in the master plan. In fact,
Thank you.
considering that report's 267 pages long, and the EDC report that we get annually is, it's briefer, it's a bullet update, but that I think we probably want to, in the Board of Selectmen adopting what's the next step with economic development, you probably want to take a very close look at what the recommendations are on economic development and the master plan and however you, and how, because there's a lot. I mean, you look at items that, I'm just suggesting, if there are things that you want to divide up amongst you to report back, there's a long list of things
Right.
on economic development, just as there's a long list of things to do with housing and other areas. But we haven't really talked about those, which of those many recommendations are then going to get translated to things that
Into
we're
goals
doing
and
right now.
actionable, yeah, okay. Mr. Zeldin.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize, to follow up, that in the master plan recommendations, in particular, it's recommended or it's suggested that this board take a close look at the opportunity to bring in a professional consultant in the area of what we'll call suburban urban development. Mainly because in order to develop a coherent strategy in this particular time, you need more than, I believe, a resident-oriented committee to drive it forward. And I think that the main responsibility for economic development eventually comes back to this table in any event. So I'm just highlighting this as a suggestion, basically explicit suggestion that came right out of the master plan, and that many residents seem to be very interested in. Both those who are not necessarily enthused about economic development as well as those who are.
Thank you. That's Mike Zeldin from Low-Ann.
I'm sorry, Mike Zeldin, Low-Ann Street.
Okay, yeah.
We're just calling up the master plan to see if there are any punch lists.
If you go to the, Keith, if you go to the folder, the recommendations, the priorities, I don't know if it made it into the text or not.
Okay.
It's the last of the, it would be the last foldout of the plan.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Goals and recommendations.
Goals and recommendations.
Okay.
Number one, investments.
Infrastructure changes in town that enhance walking, biking, signage, and parking to make it easier and more convenient for customers, residents to visit local businesses.
With
Several
Bunch of
bullets.
bullets. More bullets, number 2 at the top, develop and promote
More business-friendly practices in town hall. Multiple bullets, continue to galvanize support for local agriculture in Littleton and help sustain local farming as a component of Littleton's economy. Bunch of bullets.
Bullet.
Proactively plan for and promote other commercial activity. Is that nodes or modes? In Littleton?
Nodes.
Nodes. Particularly the area around Taylor Street and Foster Street, which we've been talking about for years. Number 5, continue to support the point and look for opportunities to encourage the expansion of uses at that site, which could include the integration of housing. Number 6 is re-examine the value of utilizing tax increment financing or TIFs to attract new businesses to Littleton. 7, evaluate the current functions of the planning department to determine whether the town would benefit from having a dedicated staff person working on economic development opportunities. Is that what you were kind of alluding to, Mike, as far as a professional or a consultant?
Yeah, that one was basically a way to do it, but I believe in the final copy
You get
of the
8,
plan.
9, and
One of the
10.
recommendations, explicit recommendations, there's 67 total number of top recommendations.
Yeah.
And one of that cover the town. And one of them is to examine, for this board, to examine the feasibility of basically doing a hire of some sort to assist in pulling the pieces together that comprise economic development.
Okay. So number 8 is update the town's aquifer and water resource protection district bylaw, clarify its purposes and requirements, bring it in line with Mass Department of Environmental Protection standards, look at opportunities to reduce the impact of the bylaw on commercially and industrial zone parcels. Number 9, ensure new development and redevelopment cited and designed in such a way that is consistent with the character of the zoning district and location within Littleton. And number 10, underground overhead utility lines along portions of Great Road and King Street to increase the reliability of delivering power and improve the aesthetics around the common. So, with those as kind of a guiding light, if you will, or some direction, we've assigned you plenty already. But relative to number 2 with economic development, with your, you can kind of.
I'm on the Economic Development Committee, I'm on the Implementation Committee, so
You've been
I'm going to be
duly,
at the meeting anyway.
you've been
so-
duly staffed.
Unless someone else wants a seat at the table, that's all I'd say, you know. It's the sort of topic
So
that
we
I
would-
think everybody ought to have some investment in.
Well, when you were gone, that's one of the points that was made, was that in this one topic, all of us can take a part.
Right, good.
So that's where we are.
And if Mike didn't already hit on it, or Anna, you know, I think the Implementation Committee is very mindful that while we're trying to implement this, brought a prop, we're also mindful that there are ongoing efforts on parallel tracks. We just got to make sure that everybody's in communication with each other so that we aren't stepping on each other's toe, or something important happens in one theater that another one is not aware of.
Right.
Maybe for today, we just cite that there are master plan economic development recommendations that you want to incorporate and then decide how many selectmen you want to have champion the goal. And seems like parts of it might be split up depending upon how you, there's a lot to do, though.
There's a lot of sub-pieces. I mean, the sewer is obviously a part of it, but so is housing, so is
Right.
infrastructure, you know.
Yeah, it's
right,
all,
yeah.
it's all part and parcel. All right, so I believe I just heard Paul volunteer.
Right.
So, does anybody want to step up and work with Paul on that? So right now, we've got Paul working.
Embarrass me, no, nobody.
No,
wants to
no,
work.
I'm right there with you, brother, if need be. So I've got, so you and Chase are on the open space recreation priorities.
Yes.
You're obviously our representative on the implementation committee.
Right.
So you're flying solo on that one, although all of us are invested in that. Actually, you and Chase, we had spoken, we were thinking that you and Chase would be involved with the common and sewer, so maybe somebody other than Chase here.
And I would say my interest in economic development is probably best expressed in the context of some of these other things that I'm already going to be assigned to. So.
Okay.
No, I don't mind stepping up and follow, but my role, I thought, on this would be more toward me hearing things that might be happening and keeping the board informed and things like that.
I just heard Joe, so. Joe and Paul.
So Paul and Joe, okay.
Can I get somebody younger?
The mic is,
Wow.
Is that ageism? I'm sorry.
Oh, boy.
No, if you kidding, Joe and I will love to work together. I hope to have an opportunity to work with everybody on something. That should be the goal. Was that just expressed?
Yeah, we
Yeah, it
expressed
was.
that.
together since you were that high, right?
Right, right.
We did try to read your notes too, when you were gone, but it was-
Oh, yeah.
I left my Captain Crunch Dakota ran home.
Turn them over to,
Yeah,
Smithsonian.
yeah, the whole
All right,
business of picking up Dad was just a ruse to get me down there, because they're a little more concerned about me than him.
Yes, I'm sure. All right, so actually, I just skipped over stormwater MS4. Are we at a point where we can take action on that, Mr. Bergman?
well, we are all waiting with bated breath to see what the EPA does on the stormwater MS4 permit, because the Massachusetts permit could be officially delayed. For how long, we don't know, but we're waiting for written guidance. Nevertheless, since 2003, we've had a permit, and we've been busy doing stormwater stuff, so I think, so. Did I answer the stormwater instead of wastewater question, I think I
Yes,
jumped ahead.
Yeah, well, I jumped you ahead.
Okay.
I answered, I posed the stormwater question instead of
Okay.
the water system question.
On the
Well,
wastewater, you want to talk about Littleton Common Sewer, just to,
so, well, I think Chase and Paul.
yeah. Jason Paul will be here.
Yeah.
okay. Our goal is to have Weston and Sampson update the board at our meeting on July 10th. And so we'll work with Chase and Paul and our staff team in preparing for that meeting.
Good.
Thanks.
You probably already did this, Keith, but did we alert the legislators to that meeting?
To our meeting on the 20th of
Was it DEP officials? or-
DEP, yeah, let me follow up, because I think I was waiting to have the date confirmed, which
Okay,
it
but-
now is, so I will make sure that they know,
It is confirmed.
because we always invite them.
It's the 20th, not the 19th? huh?
Yeah, can we confirm that via email?
Right.
Well,
I have
let's
in
see
my
what it is.
calendar a
19th.
different
I had the
date, yeah.
19th, too.
Well, let me see what it says in the book. Because whatever DEP says hasn't changed.
Says the 19th right here.
Wednesday, the 19th.
Saw that.
Wednesday, the 19th at 10 a.m.
Okay.
And I will make sure that our legislators are aware. But even before Wednesday, the 19th of July, on the 10th of July, we will be briefing the full board, so we're all on the same page
Wes and
about what.
Sampson.
Right.
And the idea is.
That's at our regular meeting,
we-
right?
Yeah, that'll be a regular meeting, and so we were looking to have a particular ask of state officials, and we want to make sure that we're all on the same page about what that is.
Good. Water systems, Cobwell is, I mean, I put it down, so I'll take ownership of it. And I think that that's something I can work with the commissioners on. If anybody wants to jump in with me, I'm happy to have you. Hearing none.
It's on a different list. Were you looking at the same list I
Yeah.
was?
I'm lost, where are you?
Yeah, we're
Water,
at.
right, it's under number 3, Littleton Common Sewer Strategy, infrastructure needs. See up on the screen here?
Page 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the matrix, but that's not the document we're referencing, or is it?
No,
Yeah, it is,
this is
yeah,
Matrix,
yeah.
it's right there.
It's right there.
It's right on the page.
Oh, all right.
Oh, there it
Yeah,
is, I got
all
it,
right, gotcha.
okay.
I just added Chuck. Any other takers? Just
There's
add-
room in that bracket for another.
Just add
Yeah,
water.
doesn't Chase get everything technical? I thought that
The water system piece seems bite-sized enough for one person.
was-
Why, 'cause it's a small little.
Well
band?
played, well played.
Hey, there's only.
Well, there's a funding
four
mechanism
words.
that you could certainly talk about, and at what point.
No, they don't want it, I'm in. I'm the champion.
Yeah, at what point.
I don't want you guys.
Right.
I'm Maverick. Lone wolf.
Yeah, well, well.
All right.
And stormwater, MS4, do you want me to run on that one? Happy to run Brad on that one.
Yeah, I think that's definitely in your wheelhouse.
Yep,
Great, thank you.
Is that a bite size, or?
depends on what the state decides to do, right?
Yeah,
I think that
For the-
for
yeah,
this
the-
fiscal year, I think it is bite
yeah,
size.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every time I've heard Secretary Beaton talk about doing something with EPA permitting, it's, we want to take it, but it seems to be going slow, so.
EPA may be just bringing the slow to a stop, though.
Slowing down the slow. All right, so under goal 4, we've got transportation / commuter rail / crosstown connect. So our 2018 potential goals, continue crosstown connect community compact with the Baker Polito administration. I think that falls squarely with Mr. Bergman, but pursue fixed route service with CTC Mart to connect Littleton Station with employment destinations, and facilitate additional parking at Littleton MBTA commuter rail. A lot of us expressed some interest in being involved with this. I think most of the interest was relative to the last bullet in facilitating MBTA parking. You raising your hand, or you just resting?
Resting. Familiar territory, keep going.
All right, so there's a lot of interest on this one. Keith, obviously, you kind of run point on a lot of
Yeah.
that conversation.
Yeah, I think it would be, it will be helpful to have a champion to work on the expansion of the commuter rail parking, and frankly, I could use a champion on the fixed route service, because we're going to be entering a discussion about where you have service is a decision, and where you don't have service is a decision. And right now, some of the conversations that we're having about a fixed route service is a pilot program, at least, that would run from the Littleton commuter rail station to Littleton Common, IBM, and Westford is very interested and can contribute financially to have that shuttle go all the way to Westford to Juniper.
Red Hat, yeah, Red Hat, Juniper
Yes,
Networks,
Red Hat. And so we're looking at maybe a pilot where we have that once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And we're exploring the specifics of that, but it would be a pilot, but we would want to be engaging the business community and the community at large about how to expand that, and really could use some involvement and championing as we move into those kinds of decisions.
I've got a couple of connections with the Westwood Board of Selectmen. If that would help, I'll put myself out there, but if there's anybody else that, I love the silence.
Well, you just said you had the connection, so it's also.
Well, I do it, yeah, I have a couple of connections on the Board of Selectmen over there. I can reach out to them and try to, foster that relationship so that we can
I think that'd be
work
very
with their
helpful.
business community.
Okay.
Okay. I'm kind of running point with Keith and myself, not having a whole lot of opportunity to work with
What's
my
the parking?
colleagues.
Who wants to be point person on parking?
So, I mean, we've already talked a little bit about the MBTA parking and when Green came in and Ed Mullen of Planning and I were going to run point on that, but certainly something of enough visibility and size that I would be more than happy to have someone else help me run point on that.
Joe, Cindy?
I'll work with you on that.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Cindy and Chase,
Yeah.
Okay, great.
thank you.
Because you had expressed interest in opening up the sidewalks and everything on
Yeah,
Foster and stuff. So
exactly.
that,
Right.
that fits together very nicely with
Right.
what's going on over there.
Okay, good. Roadway improvement plan, number 5, and complete streets. So, review/update our 10-year roadway improvement plan and maintenance plan. This is something, obviously, that'll be very involved with the DPW director, Mr. Stoddard.
I'll volunteer for his.
You want part of that, Joe? Okay.
Be part of it.
Chase, you would express some interest early on with that, is it? Okay. You guys okay with that, Chase and Joe? Okay. As far as the complete streets, again, Keith, you're kind of at the forefront of that along with Chris. And I think I had made some comments when we got the last grant for the sidewalks over when we did the presentation at Alumni Field about bicycleability.
Right.
But should that stay with Chase and Joe? Is that a small enough bite to
like
add
it.
that in?
I
Because
think so.
I think a lot of that.
Complete streets.
Certainly
yeah.
can, yeah. I think we can roll those things
Okay, I
together.
think so.
It's a nice thing, we just got to keep that one moving. rather than-
Yeah, and I was part of the original 10-year plan too, so I want
Sure.
to make sure that some of those streets stay there.
Good. A little continuity. All right, number 6, elder and human services needs. So specific goals were brought forward by Joe, Cindy, and myself.
I have been attending most of the meetings. I missed,
meetings, yeah.
I missed the last one. Plus, I think out of all the things that this board and other boards in town have done in the last 5 or 10 years, have made great progress, except when it comes to the seniors. They're the ones that haven't had the same time put in. So I want to make sure that this is at the top of one of our goals. So I definitely want to be part of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do as well.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's just-
Yep.
But if there's 3 of us on there, we have to post for any meetings that we have.
Oh,
Yeah, but it doesn't
Unless we-
necessarily mean we have to meet. We can send each other information and
right.
I can go to a meeting you can't go to or something comes up.
As long as we coordinate it that way. Any input on that, Keith? as far
2
as
is,
how to handle it?
2's company.
Yeah.
Is it crowd?
Freeze a crowd.
On all these topics, everybody can have
Right.
input however they want.
Yeah,
So if there's
and
2
again,
people
the-
aside and you got an interest, you can always just
Really,
put your points.
the idea is that the champions would be bringing things back to the full board for discussion, but if it's just 2 of you, the open meeting law allows you to interact. If it's 3 of you, you got to post. So, for example, when we did so we posted like the sewer, we weren't sure how many selectmen we were going to have when we were doing the sewer RFPs and reviews, so those were,
Right.
we brought it back to the full board for a decision, but we posted those meetings, so.
Right. And so I
You
just,
could, it's a subcommittee, it's-
So,
right, so,
I mean, if you want to be part of
could
it,
do
I
it
can
if you
drop out
wanted
and just go to the
yeah,
meetings. And
so,
Well, I mean, we can there's also different components within, to the point that you made right off the bat, this is a big bite. There's a lot that we need to do.
Right. So I've been talking with the Council on Aging for many months now. Almost close to a year, actually, we're coming up on. I have a lot of information that
Yep.
I could share. And I would be more than happy to share that with you and Joe, and obviously you're going to follow up with Pamela and Tina and.
You've got that relationship there too, though, Cindy, so I hate to,
Right.
to kind of have that handoff point. And-
Right.
and Joe
No, but
keeps
I
on
mean,
the meetings,
honestly,
just-
Chuck, I go to lunch there, I go to breakfast there, I have
I know.
a relationship with the
You do.
seniors on a different level. And it's not that I won't be involved, but I certainly would,
However it works out between Cindy and Joe, I do think to convey the importance we're attaching to the space needs study and the elderly, we've been putting them on the back burner for
Right.
a while. I think it's important to have the chair involved. in that.
Yeah, I agree with that, so we can have a dialogue about it and share information about it, but
Right.
you and Joe can take the lead on that, that's fine.
No, you would be taking the lead on it. You've been involved with it.
But you've been going to the meetings, so I
Oh.
mean,
Oh, so Chuck and I?
Cindy and Chuck, is that,
Well,
And
Let's
then
take a
you
look
can just
at-
fill me in. I just want to make sure things are getting done.
yeah.
Oh, okay, all right,
you comfortable with
Yeah,
that?
and if you can't go to meetings, I'll still go to meetings and just send you a note or something.
okay.
You sure you're okay with that?
Yeah.
You good with that?
I think it's great that we have three people who are really excited about this, so I'm happy to.
We're all excited.
Right, defer to.
All right,
Okay, all
Okay.
right, good.
thank you. All right, and that's going to encompass everything under number 6 then, Cindy? Okay, Joe? Okay. Number 7, public safety strategy and plans, strategic plans, rather. Obviously, we've got a fire station that's being built right now. The completion of that expansion project is at the forefront of this goal. Implementing the advanced life support, the ALS services at the fire department. Achieving the full accreditation. It's pretty much show up and receive the accreditation at this point, Chief?
There'll be some minor repair work and you've got a policy coming
Right.
up, obviously, but other than that, yes.
Okay. So whoever is the champion of this one, you got to win right off the bat. You just have to show up at Dover Sherborne and, is it Sherborne?
Dover, yeah.
Dover?
The Collins Center.
Right. And then, do we have a process with the chief retiring next summer? We need to get some folks assigned to this to work on the process of hiring chief's replacement. I think it's important to involve the chief in that process. And so, a few of us had stepped forward and we're looking to be part of that goal. Here, we can lump them all together.
I was going to suggest the opposite, perhaps
I
even
agree.
carving out in particular
Right.
the hiring process.
So I think that
something
the
separate.
hiring the chief of police is, I mean, I feel like I'm kind of hogging the ball a little bit here.
Yeah,
That is something,
Chair should be involved in that.
I do think
Right.
I should be involved in that as the chair, but,
But once again, we're all going to be involved in it, but
Correct.
getting the process underway, sure.
all right, so Chuck and,
I would, that's something I'm very interested in being involved with. I mean, if others would prefer, I'm happy to step aside, but that interests me a great deal.
all right. So Chase, are you and I working on anything else? Because I do want to be mindful of who's working with you as well. Joe, you had expressed some interest in that at one point, but you good?
Okay.
Okay. Paul,
Yeah, I got some stuff earlier, I got some stuff later I'm interested in.
okay.
Okay,
You okay with Chase and I?
yeah,
Okay. Thanks, Chase. So that's as far as the police chief is concerned. Now, the other items, the completion of the fire station, the ALS implementation, and the accreditation, I think they can be lumped together and don't necessarily need to fall with Chase and I. I think the fire expansion is obviously, in large part, will be involved with the fire chief, and Anthony, you've got some involvement with that, with Vertex, and, so, is, anybody want to step forward for that?
What's Vertex?
Vertex is the owner's project manager on the fire
Oh, right,
station
right,
project.
Not to add things to this that we haven't articulated, is there anything to continue carrying forward with the good work that's been done previously with the opioids work and everything? I mean, I'd like to see that momentum continued,
Right,
because
and
that's
something that
really
I'm
good
interested
stuff.
in.
Why don't the two of you work on that?
There it is. All right, Chase and Cindy are on that, and
Right.
so Bill Scannell, the gentleman that was part of that PSA, I went to high school with him, and if he needs to come back up, he said he'll go in front of the schools. He will be there for us. This is his life mission, and he was thrilled that we reached out to him to say we want to do something. So, and there's a case where we're all going to be involved with this. I mean, when Melissa and
Yeah, I
Jim
think
took
we'd be
this on
foolish not
last
to
year.
incorporate Melissa and Jim too.
Yeah.
Problem hasn't gone away.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the PSA, although well done,
Yep.
there's still a problem.
Right.
Okay, so public safety, with the exception of the hiring of the police chief, will fall to Cindy and Chase.
Perfect.
Yep.
Got that, Keith?
Very good. Yep, got it.
Running out of table.
Gotta try my system.
I have a headache just thinking about that system. All right, number 8, organizational review. I had asked Keith to add, it's not something that came in the first couple of go-rounds with the matrix, a selectmen's retreat, where a lot of other communities do retreats, and it's a less formal meeting than we're having right now. It's an opportunity for each of us to spitball, talk about ideas and thoughts and plans for the future, and, it's kind of a loose agenda, very conversational. I would recommend that we have somebody come in and facilitate it for us. Keith and I have done a little bit of research, and Anthony's made some suggestions as well, with some town administrators from other towns and some folks, I think, from within MMA, and so there's some folks that could help with this and facilitate, and frankly, I'd even offer up, if that's gonna be a budget issue where we have to hire somebody to do it, I think Kelly Clenchey would probably step forward, and he's facilitated some meetings. The school department does do retreats for the school committee every year, and he's facilitated a couple of those that I've had the privilege of being part of. He does a real nice job. So if we kind of wanted to creep, crawl, walk, run, if we wanted to kind of start out with somebody local and kind of also build some bridges, strengthen some bridges with the school department, that might be an opportunity for us to do that as well. So the retreat would be something where we would have an off-site meeting, essentially, would post it, it would be an open public meeting. Wouldn't necessarily involve LCTV, it would just be something that would be casual, and, there wouldn't be any trust falls or anything like that involved, but I think it would be very important from a team-building perspective to get us out, not necessarily in front of the cameras, just having some conversations amongst ourselves, getting to know each other a little bit better, and having some conversations about kind of what's important to each of us, and, kind of build some bridges amongst ourselves as well,
Okay.
in the administration.
Kumbaya.
So I asked for that to be added as a goal. It's not something we necessarily have to
No, let's do it.
jump
What the
into
hell?
right now.
Rob Houston from Meeting House Road. If it's an open meeting, can we ask for trust falls?
Will
Hey, you
catch
can
me?
ask for anything.
We'll catch you. You can trust me. Up on the table. We'll do it right now. Let's test drive it. Thanks, Rob.
We were looking to what would get a turnout at town meeting, maybe we'll
Yeah,
put a
that's
trust
true.
ball on it.
Dunk tank.
Maybe that might be a fundraiser, dunk tank at town meeting.
Pay-per-view.
I did one of those some years ago, I don't remember what it was, Joe, you might remember, some town organization had that.
Yeah, the
I
police,
bet you remember that?
the
Was it
police
the
had
police?
it on National Night Out, I remember.
Okay.
Was it at the
I was-
200th?
No,
Town
they
200,
might
Joe?
have. 200.
Yeah, I was a young lad. Yeah.
Building bridges.
Probably the 250th. I was around for the 250th.
Well, at the founding, they had it, but it
Yeah.
didn't involve stoning.
Right, you had to be accused of being a witch
Like how we
first.
don't have that.
Jeez, I can't wait for a retreat with him.
All right, well, can we give this to Chuck and move on?
Okay, it's gonna be a one-person retreat.
He'll fall by himself.
Yeah.
Here's where I gum things up, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind.
Take the lead, I'll pass the gavel.
No, just the pieces of 8, and I, this had to be broken down somehow. The reorganization success plans, and then we could go over under my name there. It's got the ComStat program, oversight, accountability, blah, blah, blah. That, I kind of, put that forward thinking along with some of the, I just think that and the bylaws, regulations are kind of the same, the same bucket. And I know Cindy had expressed interest earlier too in being involved in some of that, so.
Right.
There might be particular pieces of organizational review you want to pull out, but I'd like to kind of marry together the second item under organizational review. For that matter, I mean, the website thing is what I had included there. Those
All right, so
together.
let's do that, let's pluck them
Yeah.
off, and
Yeah.
I like a lot of what your summary under this goal. As far as the MOU is concerned, Mike Fontanella, Gary Austin, Mike Fontanella. from-
Yeah, I
Gary
didn't
Austin.
have that in my
So,
wheelhouse, yeah,
I'm-
that's, yeah.
I'm gonna retain that,
Yep.
The
we're
MOU
already
piece.
down, we're already
Okay.
down the road, so.
And then move Paul's comments down more towards.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah,
like
so-
organizational review numbers 1 and 3, as well as 9. Those are the things that I'm asking that we consider together as a package of 1. And, the other things, if, town meeting improvements could be involved there, but if Chase has a specific interest in that and someone else is involved with them, that's actually a beast of its own, and so I'm just kind of selfishly looking to lump together some of the things I had expressed interest in.
Okay. So, let's see, from 2017, we had implement highway reorganization, we've done that. So reorganization, succession plans for finance administration, we're well down the road there. So, but as far as reorganization within town offices, within administration,
Right, as well as some of this oversight, accountability, what can we be doing in terms of,
org chart, that kind of thing.
yeah, or even database management, examining what other towns do, some of these management topics, which could feed into org chart and responsibilities. I mean, we've changed a lot in the past year, and I think it's worked out well in terms of who we've hired, but I think it's probably appropriate to take a step back and say, well, what duties should fall under whose purview, and, what else can we be accomplishing now? We always, a lot of time, questions that come up, and it's like, well, if we had X person, we could do this, now we have X person and Y person, So I just want to kind of review that in light of some of those general goals of accountability, increased planning, oversight, and a lot of it is technology-based assessment. That ComStat program I reference there is a specific prototype, but I mean, it's been adapted by many communities over the, over the years, and governments large and small about using data points to measure, what your needs are. You can use it in police departments, you can use it in highway departments, you can use it anywhere, and I know we do some of that stuff, but I'd kind of like to do a little survey of what we're doing and what we could be doing.
Okay, so your name's on this.
Yes. I was volunteering
Right.
Cindy, we're not working on anything together yet.
Sure, I'll work with you on that.
So, are you able to call that, Keith?
Yeah, I pulled it out, and just, I'm looking for a name, a shorthand name of what,
I just offer Keith combining two of the things you already had, the organizational and bylaw regulations review, something like that.
okay, so all right, organizational.
It's
review.
pieces of what you already have
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm cutting and pasting the right. Organizational review, bylaw review. you want
Just
to
merge them?
lump
Yeah.
those two together?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm happy to have pulled out any sub-pieces that are listed here that other people had specific interest in, like town meeting, that's kind of a, kind of got its own little interest group, and you just mentioned one there, the MOU, Chuck, that, that's got its own little thing there. I wasn't specifically anticipating LCTV coverage, but that's an important topic, so if someone else wants to grab those pieces, fine, with me.
Okay. So, that being said, as far as town meeting improvements, I think we are, that's one of those that I think it's a 5-member. I think we're,
Oh, yeah.
5 members, I mean, do you want to kind of take the lead on that, or do you think?
Sure, I'm happy to take lead. I wouldn't mind, I don't know, Joe, if you have any interest in that topic.
It's fine with me.
Having someone else to bounce ideas
Yeah,
off
yeah,
of before
yeah,
we
that's
bring things back to you.
ideal.
Yeah, 'cause you're working with Chase on a couple already.
Yep, and I got
Cindy,
Cindy
you've got
and,
Chase on a couple.
And,
So-
that's one of the things, when you run the campaign, you have your own ideas, but then you talk to people and things keep coming up, and town meeting improvements was one of those
Right.
things that lots of people had commented.
Well, it was
on.
fresh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and if you take it on that one, you should not lose sight of the fact that that thing's been
It's been,
not examined exhaustively, but it's examined over and over again, so go back and familiarize yourself with.
without insulting Joe's expertise, that was a big reason why I wanted Joe to help me with that.
has he seen it all?
Right, because we've,
You just say it in a nice way, huh?
let's try not to reinvent the wheel, right? Let's know what we've done well and what we've tried and what's failed.
Okay, sure, there's Joe, but I'd go talk to Diane Curry and Tim Gotti, too.
Well, of course. That's where it's.
Yeah.
Right, that's where the real
Yeah,
real
but, well, actually, Joe's a former chair of the Government Reorganization Study Committee, so he's earned his chops.
That was a fun committee.
I would envision that that's going to involve some communication with some other communities as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
What have you guys done? There's been a lot of communities that have gone to Saturdays and they've had success with it. There's been other communities, including us, that have gone to Saturdays and it hasn't been successful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the best way to approach that is going to be to put a lot of ideas on the table first and see what has wholesale failed, wholesale worked for other people, and then what's in between in the gray area.
Paul's point about reinventing the wheel, there's been a lot of towns that have done a lot of things. So, there's.
And,
some
you know,
research.
generally what I heard from people was, we need to make sure we're doing it the best way possible. And if the net result of all this evaluation is, it's not perfect, but it's
what
the
we're doing is
best
the best,
in
yeah.
aggregate is as good as it can be, okay.
Very good. So do you think, so we've broken out the organizational review, the ComStat portion, the kind of the bylaw review, as far as like communications, website upgrade, that kind of thing, do you think we tagged it onto one of these others, or?
One thing I want to add on to that, if possible, is that somewhere along the line, we have to review all the committees that we have listed on the website that are either non-existent, haven't met in 5 or 6 years, and
That's something we could certainly do at a retreat.
Yeah, or,
I actually
Fit
made a
under
list.
Paul and Cindy's organizational review.
Yeah, I don't mind trying to take a tackle on that. And as far as the website piece goes, Chuck, at least to the extent that it involves trying to implement some of this transparency and using the, presenting data to the public, I'd like to kind of at least have a,
Paul and Cindy,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was,
let's lump those in
Right.
with you guys doing the other stuff that
Yeah.
we recreated.
Okay,
And, I had mentioned something about LCTV and town coverage there, that might just as well be lumped into the communications piece and the web, let's see where the website gets to. And
or it could get lumped in with the town meeting piece too,
Right.
Jay, since you're already
Okay.
interested in that. I mean, I just-
I think it should probably be aggregated with something else I'm happy to see
Since
where
you're
it
interested in
lands.
both, I mean, arguments can be made to, lump any two things together if you want them to be. I would just suggest, do you have a partner in that, or you got Joe, right? There you go.
On the town meeting improvements, throw the LCTV on the back end of
Right.
that? Or just, it can be a separate goal.
I mean, we
Yeah.
can,
The two of you
we
will-
can make it more broadly, I mean, meeting improvements, and
Yeah,
a
there you
big
go.
part of that is
There you
LCTV's
go.
coverage of
Right.
meetings.
Yeah, because that's both town meetings and board meetings. There you
Right.
go. There's the commonality.
So, it's
I
also.
mean,
lump in-
communication, LCTV is all about communication. Though. We could just put it under communications.
Fine, but that doesn't show, yeah, right.
As far as
No, I'm fine. I
Yes.
just-
As far as review of existing boards, we've got a bunch of them out there, and I had listed them off one evening, where there's either been no activity, or we don't have enough folks. to
Throw
do
that
it.
on our plate, we'll make short work of that.
I
Okay,
actually
I'm-
already went
Was
through
it you
that.
guys? Okay,
Yeah.
so Keith, you got that?
So to the organizational review and
Correct.
bylaw review, it'll be review
Boards and committees,
status of boards and committees.
And maybe the process that we go through, if in fact we are going to disband or sunset
Follow
a
up.
committee.
Right, okay.
Okay, good. I don't know where we are anymore. 9-ish. Are we, can we cover everything under 8 and 9, so that we're able to go to 10?
one way or the other. Well, MOU is gonna be you and who? Did you have because that's in here somewhere.
Well, it's me and Gary Austin from Park and Rec and
Right,
Mike
right.
Fontanella.
Don't really need anyone else from our board, that's fine.
I'm perfectly willing to open it up to another member, but and there's gonna be enough people at the table, I think, to make that work. Okay, so we're on 10, I believe, right? Keith?
Yeah, what shows here is number 9, we're actually moving up to 8,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we're just kind of
'Cause
combining the
it's-
two.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
See you, Bob, never mind.
Okay. So 10 is long-range fiscal plan.
Yeah.
Good.
We had a great year financially the past year and a great budget year, but we did nothing on the Financial Policies Committee. We just kind of never got our act together, and
It never met.
it never met. So maybe that's a, that's a sign we have. Best year financially when the Financial Policies Committee hasn't met.
It's like when Congress doesn't meet, yeah, we just do just fine.
Runs smoothly.
But there are some, and Keith would I'm sure, agree with me, there's a number of topics we've had lingering out there, things that we've
Yeah,
never
that we-
finalized policies on. And it's the chair and vice chair of FinCom School Committee sends chair or rep, and then this board, it isn't always chair and vice chair, but probably should be. You and I haven't worked on anything yet, are we?
We've had a good year.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm
We've seen
just
a lot of each other over the past year.
I know,
No,
but
no,
I'm just saying,
happy to work with you.
on the financial policies, I would like to continue to be involved in it, but I would also think it's important to get a variety of opinion. It ought to rotate, I don't want to be there forever, but I would like to re-engage it.
Okay.
You haven't been involved in that before, have you? It's a great education, everybody ought to go through it at least once, because, the policy books you get, you actually argue over every letter in it. How does that sound? A little fun?
I'm in.
Yeah.
Sold me. I think we had originally said you and Cindy, but I'm in. You and I.
You mind on that?
Yeah, that's fine,
Okay, so that's
Thanks.
because that's separate from the piece that you and I are working on, Paul.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Chuck. and-
Yeah, we meet with,
Long-range fiscal plan, Chuck.
Who's it,
and-
Fred and Greg are the chair and vice chair, FinCom now, and...
Greg's the chair.
Oh, Greg is.
Gary Wilson.
Greg and Gary, okay, well, that's, Greg's been involved once before, when we started this, when he was a selectman a million
Yeah,
years
It
ago.
also includes somebody, the chair of the school
Yeah,
committee.
so Michael
and-
Fontanella,
and
yeah.
staff, yeah.
And the finance team, of course, yeah.
Good. All right. What we should do is, if we can, try to meet as soon as possible, just so we don't.
Yeah, before we get the budget process underway, that's what we've tried to do in the past, is see if there's issues we want to identify and can get out of the way before we start getting mired in budget stuff. So this summer is a good idea.
Yeah.
If you want, Mr. Chair, I'll reach out to the other members, as long as Keith reminds me.
Yes.
All right, good.
But,
Mr. Zeldin?
Myself on Loanne Street. Mr. Chairman, could you just inform us about when you have long-range financial, what is the range? I don't mean the financial, I mean the timeline. Are you looking 2 years out, 1 year out?
Yeah, 10
3 months?
years.
Yeah, it's a 10-year look.
10 years.
10 years.
This is an important piece. Thank you.
Yep.
Not as long as the master plan, so it's not 2040, but we're looking,
similar in length, actually, the last master plan was what, about 12, 13 years? Yeah.
but let's put it, there's sufficient over, because it's
Yeah,
a bird
yeah.
in flight. It is
Right.
not at termination. Okay. I just wanted to know the times.
Bird in flight.
Something just tempted me to be like Goose and Top Gun.
I was thinking,
What's that?
Khalil Gibran, wasn't it? The bird of time has been a short flight, and lo, the bird is on the wing, isn't it?
See when it does that.
Undergraduate, 1942. Okay, keep moving.
Another round for.
All right. Debt exclusion stabilization was called out as a potential goal. Run the Community Preservation Act,
The debt
Also
exclusion
under-
could probably fit into the.
under the same
long-range
with
fiscal plan up
with
in
Paul and I.
Yeah.
I think
I'll move that one up there.
I think so. I think 10 with Paul and I being responsible, is unless anybody has any compelling argument otherwise, I think they can all be lumped together with Paul and I.
Yeah.
And before anybody breaks into a cold sweat about Chuck and I, screwing all that up, most of this is driven by financial staff internally, right? You happy I said that?
Yes.
So if I run for re-election, I think I'm gonna have you be my campaign chair after that. Fantastic introduction. Thank you, Paul.
Not true, by the way, but that's all right.
Yeah, nice recovery, thanks. All right, so number 11 is town facilities. So we've got another big project that's going on. Obviously, the fire department, we've already put under public safety. But the completion of the alumni field facility, the renovation, and also the athletic fields needs study, town offices needs study, the library. We find out, I believe, on July 14th is when we are likely to find out our status, for the first round of funding for the grants. Under town facilities is also the ADA accessibility of town buildings, completion of the fire project I mentioned, and the Veterans Corner Memorial up at the Common. So we can chunk this out, we can lump them together. I am kind of knee-deep into the alumni field thing, so I would like to try to see that to completion. I've been pretty involved with the athletic field needs study as well, so I'm happy to bring somebody else in with me. Cindy, I know you expressed some interest, and I don't know that you and I have, well, I guess we have Elder and Human Services together,
Right.
but, so,
I'd like to be involved in that.
yeah, I don't know if I'm doing anything with Joe. That would be my only reservation, is that
Oh,
there's not a whole lot of opportunities left for Joe and I to work together. You gonna be okay with
Okay.
that?
You're gonna break, maybe you could break some of that up, because this is pretty much it, right?
Yeah, so maybe the athletic stuff you and I could work on, Cindy?
okay.
Actually, could involve in the space needs as well.
Did that already come up here, the space needs somewhere, or am I just imagining that? Okay, well, that's complete, no, the Elder and Human Services.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
lumped
we
in
had
under that, yes.
specifically from the vantage point of elder.
Right.
But we,
So I would say then at least one of the two elder
Right.
and service humans,
Yes.
one of the contacts
Yeah,
there
either-
should be involved.
that's
Chuck
Chuck and
and
Cindy,
Cindy.
so
Right.
you can throw it all
Okay, if I
together.
jump in there, Cindy?
Sure.
Joe, would you be willing to jump in with me just so that we have an opportunity to work on something together? Please?
Yeah, that's fine.
So this,
No, but I thought something was already combined, that's why.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, so it's, as far as the Elder and Human Services need, there's a tie-in with the space needs study, as there is with the library
Okay,
and
right.
town offices and, so any of the stakeholders or residents of the town offices. So Cindy and I will do the alumni and the athletic field study.
Okay.
Joe and I will do town office space needs study. And as far as the library, Chase, you've expressed some,
I've expressed some interest, but I would certainly like to, given the magnitude of what that project could
you
be.
wouldn't be alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just need to, you want me to stay with town facilities and be with you on that,
yeah,
that's
why
fine.
don't you do
or
the
if you-
whole thing and then, do pieces with other people, there you go. We'll get you fired before the
so
year's
for
over.
alumni,
Oh, divorce.
so
Different kind of fire.
alumni Chuck and Cindy, athletic fields Chuck and Cindy.
Correct. Town office space needs Joe and Chuck.
Joe.
Yeah. And then library, Chase and I, unless somebody feels strongly that they want to be with Chase on that. It's you and I, bud.
Hey,
Sounds good.
Okay.
Gotta get a new job. All right, good deal.
And then ADA accessibility.
Yep. All right, so, still under facilities, ADA accessibility of town buildings. I think that can stay, I don't know. I think that might be able to be pulled into the office
yeah.
needs
Oh, yeah.
with Joe and I.
Should be. That should be part of the office space
Think so.
study stuff, yep.
We will be dealing with the Disabilities Commission
Correct.
on this, but,
Yeah.
yeah, happy to have the.
I've been to all their
champions.
meetings.
Yeah.
keep on going.
Because that's a point worth stating, all these topics, we've just been assigned a topic that involves other interaction with other committees, we probably ought to make those contacts
Right.
Correct.
right off the bat, you know. If it's
Yeah.
Sue, we're gonna talk with, Keith and Chris and Water Department and whatever else,
Economic development.
What I'll do is, when I'll put together a summary from tonight, but I'll also, in addition to the champions from the board, I'll
Other
list
interested
I'll
parties.
list, like,
Stakeholders
staff,
or- yeah.
staff contacts.
Oh, perfect, all
Yeah,
right,
What
good.
we do on warrant articles.
Staff contacts Keith, but also I think other interested boards, so we're not
Okay.
neglecting people, I would say.
Sure.
All right, so under facilities, we have fire station expansion. I think we covered that under, yeah, I think we got that under public safety. Veterans Corner Memorial, Cindy, certainly you've taken the lead here, and I think, and certainly we can have somebody else with you on that. but
Right.
I
I have a decent group of volunteers helping with that, so I
do
think
it.
I'm
It's
good.
bite-sized?
So-
It's bite
Oh, I don't
size.
think it's bite-sized, but
Get out of the way.
I think anybody
But
that
I-
gets involved is gonna get run over.
All right, so that'll be Cindy. Obviously, we're here.
Right,
Oh,
no, I know that.
yeah, okay.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for doing that. Doing some great work there. All right, so I think we are through our champion assignments. Mr. Zeldin.
Rick Sullivan, Loanne Street. I'd like to make a special plea for to bring to your attention because of the experience are limited in the master plan. The one thing the master plan could not actually take too far were basically the financial, budgetary considerations of what is contained in the plan or frankly any plan. So I want to make a special plea that the, what you call long-range, or tonight have called the long-range financial outlook or planning, that take a fairly high priority in order of marching for your activities. If for no other reason, to provide some discipline to what is chosen to do and at what cost. So what I'm asking, what I'm making a special plea for is that before too much activity is undertaken by any of the town committees, including this one, that you take a real hard look and become very familiar with the, we'll call it, the 2, the 5, and the 10-year outlook financially, especially in view of what's happening in the schools and broadly speaking. So it has, we ran into this issue over and over again in the process of coming to an understanding of the master plan, and the community is, the residents are acutely aware. And I think a great service could be done if the boards reflect that awareness and concern. It's a suggestion.
I think it's a important topic that advocates don't raise often enough, and I'm glad to hear an advocate is actually raising the point of, make sure you factor in the finances, and as we do our pre-budget dialogues with the FinCom this summer, as the Financial Policy Subcommittee meets, and as the Implementation Committee meets, keeping that issue first and foremost is important, and obviously we ought to be mindful of that every time we're making a decision on something that has a financial impact here.
Yeah, and I think that we're, part of what you're, as I read your suggested goals, was similar to what Mr. Zell was saying, is that, you know, transparency and.
Didn't quite have to say that, but, yeah, it's true.
I think we're going down that path, but I do appreciate the input. Any other comments before we close the meeting? So, folks, we don't meet again until July 10th. I can speak for all of us when we say that I hope everybody has an enjoyable and safe 4th of July weekend as we celebrate our nation's independence next Tuesday.
Yes.
And at that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
All right, Mr. Chairman, as I do that, I'd like to thank you. This was not a scheduled meeting. I winced when I first saw it on the agenda, but I'm glad you did it, and I think we were all well-served for having the singular conversation on that. So you're off to a great start, and I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Glavy.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Before I take the vote, I have to thank Mr. Bergman and Mr. Consalvi for helping us out and getting it done as well as Ms. Dickinson as well. Dickinson, sorry. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a happy and safe 4th of July, folks.
Very good.